place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Friday, August 1st, 2025, and this is episode 1066. Get your kicks on Route 66 of Living Free in Tennessee. I see Kiri and Matt are in the live stream, and we're going early today. And the reason we're going early today is that I am obviously not in my house. You can see my clothes hanging up back there. I'm at an Airbnb in Medford, Oregon. I hopped out for a quick visit to my dad to help out with some stuff here. And for those of you who listen to me in Medford, who I don't get to see while I'm here, it was a really quick trip. Usually I would have arranged a meetup, but we had some stuff going on here. So I am in Medford, Oregon, and it is a dry heat. What do you think about that, Tactical?
It's not a dry heat here.
Is it a wet heat there? Morning, Eric Sloan.
It's been very humid.
Yeah. So we've had one other really wet year that was very humid like this year, but this one has endured well into August with the rain, which is great for the plants and not great for the humans. You're supposed to reply to that rather than whatever you're doing there.
I'm actually going to pull up the weather because they said it wasn't supposed to rain, but it looks like it's going to rain.
What do you have to run outside and deal with if it rains?
I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything that I have to deal with, but
getting my burner out of the rain at base camp would be good if it rains hard.
Yeah, I should probably go pull that in anyway.
Yeah. I mean, when I get home, I'll probably want a can. So obviously, like Tactical and I are running a homestead with me at a distance, which does that increase your stress?
Yeah.
Yeah? How?
I mean, it's actually trying to make a list of things that, we both do. And there's the little things like dawned on me weeding gardens. Like,
you've never weeded one of my gardens in your life.
The raised beds, no.
Yeah.
And
and you think I'm not doing that.
Well, it's one of those deals where it's like, if you're gone for 3 days, not a big deal. But if you're gone for 2 weeks, that could be an issue. And I don't know what you planted in those beds. So that one's not a big thing, but it's the little stuff like that. Everybody's got the little things that they do that nobody else knows about. It's insignificant until it doesn't get done.
There's little things I do to try to make your life easier throughout the day that have not been done for a few days, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, he's constantly refilling the water filter. But what he doesn't know is I go behind him and I also constantly refill the water filter, and I fill his bottles when they're sitting there, and I throw them in the fridge, which he probably noticed isn't happening. Good morning, Jen and Margot. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you do that sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, especially right now, it's so hot and humid. I'm burning through water so fast. You can go certain points in time in the day, you can just go sit in the shade and pour sweat.
Yeah, that is definitely summer on a homestead in Tennessee. Well, do you think I should do like the featured event and our sponsors this morning?
Probably.
Okay, so I'm really excited about today's featured event, and I totally would have featured it last week had I not gotten sick. but it's called Curd and Connection, a soft cheese workshop at the Holler Homestead. And it's on August 23rd. I've talked to you guys about the cheese class. And it's over at livingfreeintennessee.com. What's cool about this isn't just the learning how to make cheese, because cheese is delicious, but we are pairing food from around the world, tasty bites for lunch. Yeah, we can hear Tactical a lot. I'm going to mute him while he does whatever he's doing in the background because that's loud. Anyway, so we're pairing it with tasty bites so that you know, like, this cheese goes good with that. And that's going to be a special lunch that's curated with the help of Chef Kenny Daniels, who's the blood sugar chef. If you listen to Jack's show, he's on the expert council there. I met him last November, and he was interested in participating, so he'll co-teach with me. And he is going to show us some things to do with whey, which is the byproduct of cheese that you've never heard of before, that can totally kick your culinary skills at home in the kitchen into overdrive. So that's how the class is going to wrap up. It's a demonstration style class with there's one hands-on activity for y'all to do. And you'll go home with some cheese. You'll go home with a guide to make cheese and a cheese starter kit. That's all August 23rd. 9:30 is when we get started. It's meet and greet. And then we dive into 3 cheeses. We're going to make feta. We're going to make chev. And I'm going to talk about the different things that same process, the different kinds of cheeses that can make. And we're going to make paneer. Yeah. Paneer is one that we have not done at a cheese class before. So check that out, livingfreeintennessee.com. I also want to thank 2 sponsors for today's show. And the first sponsor is Holler Roast in Your Cup. That's right. Holler Roast is going to the Tennessee State Fair in August, which may mess with our podcasting schedule a little bit, because when Holler Roast is at the Tennessee State Fair, there will be scheduled tastings. Where? At the Tennessee State Fair in Lebanon, Oregon. Lebanon, Tennessee. I'm in Oregon, so I'm going to mess up today. So that's happening starting mid-month. We'll be at the Pick Tennessee Products store. I've started kind of experimenting, working with those guys. Had a really fun time at the film festival last fall. Was it fall? No, it was winter. I don't know. A little while ago. Met some pretty cool honey producers and all sorts of cool producers in the network. And as we're getting our buying club, our local grocery buying club up and running, it's actually kind of cool because I'm connecting with some producers. And that's going to be happening. So Holler Roast is one. HollerRoast.com to order your freshly roasted beans that are roasted to order and sent out. Good morning, Pack Rat. Guess who our second sponsor is today, Tactical? He doesn't know because he's muted and he can't. I've unmuted you.
I have no idea.
Is your privacy important to you?
Slightly.
Is your digital privacy important to you?
Yeah.
Are you using an Android phone connected to Google?
Unfortunately.
How private is that phone, dude?
I don't know.
Not very private, but Above Phone has a product that you can use that doesn't work exactly like your Android, but it works really close to like your Android, that can put control of your digital fingerprints back in your hands. AbovePhone.com to find out more. And if you want $50 off a device, it's Living Free TN. Living Free TN for Living Free in Tennessee. Okay. Anyway, back to the Homestead Happening Show. Folks in the live stream, if you have questions or a topic you want to hear about, let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to roll through our notes today, and then I'm going to go do things in Medford, Oregon. I need to get a picture of Roxy Ann in the background so people know I'm not in Tennessee anymore. So here's what I noticed, Tactical. I lived in this area before Portland. So I grew up in the Portland area, moved to Ashland, went to college, ended up in Medford because I really liked this area, and then ended up back in Portland before I moved to Tennessee. And there was some time in Germany and DC and some other places. So it's like 30 years ago I lived here, I think. 25, 30 years ago. And I'm taken to the roads like a duck to water. What is that about?
I don't know.
Like, it's interesting. Culturally, I do really well in Medford, Oregon, just, comfortably talking to people. I don't even have the experience here that I have in other parts of the West and the Northwest, where after being in the South, people seem kind of rude here. And it's because in the South, we do this small talk thing. So like in the grocery store line, you'll kind of chit chat with somebody a little bit. Here, when you do that, not in Medford. I mean, I've done it in Medford and everybody chit chatted comfortably with me, but other parts of the West, like when I was in Denver or Portland, people look at me like I want money. And they don't answer, and it feels really rude. Or I was at the Denver airport and I dropped, like my hands were full. I dropped my water bottle and I picked it up all by myself.
Yeah.
The man in front of me looked at me, shrugged his shoulders, and walked off.
Sounds about right.
And I was like, oh, I'm in the West now. People don't open doors here. And it's funny because I actually have always liked that politeness, even though there's a defensiveness to the politeness sort of thing on the West. And I think that's why it's like culturally that's just been erased here.
Yeah.
But in Medford, it's not that bad. So anyway, I do like the drier air after being in the soup there for the last 6 weeks.
I'll still take the humidity over the dry.
Yeah, it's nice. It's actually not that dry here. They've been threatening thunderstorms. We had a severe thunderstorm warning yesterday here. And I was like, you're welcome, guys. I brought that. Mississippi Homestead Journey and Jen, welcome to the live stream. Okay, so the first item I have today is, are you crazy? Tactical, are you crazy?
Probably.
You walked in the other day after talking to me about sheep. And the background of this is Tactical talked about leaving the holler for 2 weeks back to back, which is not something that's a very comfortable thing to think about. 1 week, sure. 2 weeks is like, oh no. And I realized I don't think I've left the holler for 2 weeks since 2017. And that was before there was anything bigger than poultry in the holler. So then he was like, give me a list of what I do that makes you nervous. And we had this conversation, and a lot of it boils down to one thing, and the word is steep sheep. So Tactical, are you crazy for running sheep on the steep?
Apparently, because there's only one other person that I know that would probably do what I do.
I'm pretty sure the guy who has St. Croix in Buffalo Valley does what you do.
Maybe.
He
know him, though.
Yeah, we need to go check out his whole setup. Our friend on the skid steer does know him.
Really?
Margot says I'm very crazy. Pippinized is in the house. So as a result of asking if you're crazy, does it make you want to stop doing sheep?
No, it just, I mean, there's an aspect of, I don't know. I mean, it is irritating that I can't just pick up and leave. I mean, when I say that, I don't mean just pick up and leave, but even planned, it's difficult for me to leave. But at the same time, I actually prefer it when the sheep are at the top because I get to go up there.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's just, it's a double-edged sword in the fact that, it's hard to find somebody else that's comfortable enough to even go up there, much less do anything.
Yeah. So I know multiple farmers in the area rotating animals on the steep. And one of the things we've talked about on and off on this show is more automation or simplification because it's hard to leave. But the truth of the matter is, And this is something that a lot of people say, get sheep, it'll be easy. You just rotate them every day, they say. We rotate them every 3 to 7 days, right? And they'll live off the grass, and then you'll get meat. That's the fantasy.
Yeah.
The reality is it's hard to move sheep on steep, rocky Tennessee soil. And especially if the pasture is not already pastured, it's not already like developed into really nice pasture, it's hard. If you don't have water infrastructure, it's hard. So there's a lot of hard there. If your mower is broken, have you found somebody to repair that yet?
No, I haven't even had time to think about it.
Today might be a good day to think about that.
Yeah.
So all of it takes time. And then you end up in a situation where wandering off for 2 weeks just seems impossible. And I think that's why most people who run homesteads or farms don't leave for 2 weeks. They leave for 5 to 7 days.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Jack, he's not even on a big homestead. He's on a, his 3-acre plot with ducks, and he doesn't leave for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So Margot says, don't take advice from they. Yeah, they don't really know. So Packrat says, face it, you're a crazy person about specific odd things. Yes. He was reading that in an article. Jen wants to know, how do y'all get water to the top? Tactical, how do you get water to the top?
2 5-gallon gas cans.
Yeah, he has these sealable racing gas cans that are made for kerosene or something, diesel.
Yeah, those are, they're gas cans that are color-coded blue, which is generally for kerosene. I have the only blue ones of that specific style we have are for water, so that they don't get confused with gas or diesel.
Imagine feeding the sheep gas, kerosene.
I have a very specific way that I strap both of those to the back of the four-wheeler. And yes. I've tried a couple of different things, and those 2 cans is what I started with, and those 2 cans is what I've gone back to after I've tried every other thing that I've tried.
Yeah. So this time of year, you're popping up there about once a day with that, right? With that 10 gallons?
It depends.
If it doesn't rain.
Well, right now where they're at, I have 2 10-gallon bowls for them, but the hill is so steep, 1 10-gallon bowl will only hold about 5 gallons. So there's another spot further up that's got a pretty flat area where I can basically fit probably 17 gallons in. And so I'll just make 2 trips up when I move them up there, and that gets them a good bit more time before I've got to start topping water up again. And then right now it's unusually hot, and the paddock that they're in, even it's not as cool as some of the other places.
Like from a shade standpoint.
Well, not even from a shade standpoint, but like it's going to be hotter in the shade in this paddock than the place where they were 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we do our best when it's going to be super hot to move the sheep to the cooler paddocks if we can, but this just was not possible. And yeah, Jen's doing the same brainstorm. I do a tactical all the time. He's not keen on the brain barrel approach. I think if we're going to grow the flock, we're going to have to do some sort of rainwater collection up there long term. or some other thing, or change where they're running. Because the thing is, right now, with the number of sheep, he's going up once a day. But if we double that, he's going up twice a day. If we triple that, he's going up 3 times a day. Or he's taking multiple trips and lots of different things. So I think that there is a solution there that we still haven't found that's better than, like, the one I want is we're able to run water, plumb water to specific delivery points, and then run hoses off them to an automated watering system for the sheep, and have more sheep rotating more easily with magical fence lines that put themselves in that we tap into and then subdivide like they have at Polyface. Well, it took, 20 to 40 years for Polyface to get there all the way. We're going to go see Polyface in like a week. And I think Tactical will get some ideas there, but it does start with asking the question, how can we simplify this? And he asks that question all the time. But I've also noticed when he's feeling negative about it, the answers don't come.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to find the most efficient way to do something, force a redneck to do it repeatedly. Like, they're going to find a simpler solution pretty quick. And so, like, what I'm doing is the most efficient way that I have figured out to do it. And when I go online and look, like, watching YouTube videos of the way other people do stuff, it's like I just laugh hysterically. Because it's like, I'm sure that works wonderfully for them. And I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. Like, I'm sure it works great for them. They're not on the side of a mountain. Like, I love the videos with the guys that get on their four-wheeler and they've got the reel hooked up there and they just grab a step-in post and just stick it in the ground. And I'm like, yeah, I've thrown post at the ground and watched the post bounce 15 feet down the hill. Literally, like, the tip of the post hit a rock and bounced. So it's like the internet is only so useful for...
I still maintain, and you are skeptical of this, that there's a better water solution, and I think we should be open to it.
Well, I'm not saying that there isn't a better water solution. And I'm not saying that I'm not open to it. I'm just saying that what I'm doing is the best that I have figured out so far.
Yep. Hello, Carson. Welcome to the live stream. Okay. So we have determined that the redneck is, in fact, crazy. Are the dogs whining?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I think there's an issue over beds.
Oh, yeah. That means one of those beds needs to go in the laundry. And the ones on the laundry machine are clean if you want to use a clean bed for a dog. I have an aging dog with a bladder problem. So that's part of the fun of the Holler. And I wash beds almost every day as part of my things I do that Tactical doesn't know I do list while I'm out of town. Okay, next. So we've been talking about the Holler Hub project. I call it the Holler Hub just because that's not what the property is going to be called probably, but like, we've functioned as a hub for a long time, and then I realized that even though I like started nicknaming it that because I couldn't think of a better name, and then I was like, actually, that kind of fits. So over the weekend, we did our first official event at the Base Camp Lodge over next door, and it was a canning class. And the message I got about how we need to do this is that we need to integrate more help, because I was also struck ill on Thursday, and then I lost my cat Tigger on Friday, and then Saturday was the class. And the good news is I was sick on Thursday and felt better Friday and Saturday, but I will tell you that then I felt worse again on Sunday. So hopefully I didn't infect a whole bunch of people at the class. Like, never did I get like super coldy, snotty as part of this. I just didn't feel good. And I ended up needing to depend more on Lynn and Tactical to set up the class. Is that a good assessment? Because I just had to. I just could not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you learn about that?
I mean, I think a couple of the main points was just Friday is a horrible day to set up for a class like that. It should start at the beginning of the week with the setup.
So you would rather have had it set up sooner rather than later?
Yeah. And also, meals for us has been an issue at all of these because after everything is said and done on Saturday, the last thing anybody wants to do is think about preparing food.
Well, so we cook from scratch at the Holler Homestead. I was exhausted after the class, and then there's always a person or two around, right?
Yeah.
Like we had your parents and another guest in town who are perfectly capable of cooking for themselves, by the way. But we are out in the middle of nowhere. So the options are go over to the marina for Mexican food, which about the last thing I was willing to do was go to a restaurant and sit at a restaurant around all those people. And then we needed to have dinner. And I had already kind of planned a dinner of hamburgers, but my beef was not defrosted all the way. So I had to get beef from Nighthawk. And then we had all this leftover stuff from lunch because lunch was really cool. It was a charcuterie sort of, little bites, but it was hearty. Like you had meats and cheeses and spreads. And we finished with dessert of strawberry goat ice cream from a local dairy in Smithville. And so that all went fine. The other thing is when I'm teaching a class like that, I nibble on lunch, but I don't eat lunch. Yeah, Jen says girl dinner. It was basically girl dinner for lunch. And then we source all of that stuff really carefully. The saving grace for that, like had I been running this class by myself and had Lynn not been there, just think of the dialed up stress it would have been to get ready for the class. But she made these really awesome roasted olives that are delicious with herb de Provence. And then she did all the trays and put everything out, right? Ian, exactly. If only you'd lived closer. I guess you're going to have to travel in and teach a class. Ian's a chef. I'm really loving the whole involving all my chef friends part of this project. There's going to be multiple chefs through to teach us things about cooking from scratch and cooking from your garden abundance. And when you don't have a plan and you just have a pile of things you got off the land and you don't know what it's going to be, and then that's dinner or lunch for the class, right? Anyway, so Lynn was a godsend, basically. She went out, she bought trays for it all, so we didn't have to unearth trays. She put it all out. She cleaned up so it wasn't a cluster after the class. And I'm super thankful that she was there for that. Tactical got to do all the things I do to set up, right? Oh, we're going to mute him again. I don't know what he's off doing now, but it's loud. So Tactical, because we had the glamper rented for somebody to stay in, and we needed to make sure, some other things were all set up. Tactical did the things I usually do. How was that for you?
I just missed part of that because, Cat trying to knock everything off of the counter / I just realized that I probably really want to move that trailer before it rains.
Yeah. So we got through all of that, and then it was time for dinner, and we needed somebody to cook us dinner, and the only person to cook us dinner was me, and I was tired from teaching the class, but I cooked this dinner anyway with some help. Carson's like 20 minutes behind. I just got to the "Are you crazy?" part. Yeah. So Jen says frozen holler meal in the sous vide. So yes, Jen, we've been thinking about that and thinking that we should have a crock pot meal or something ready to go. And then we never execute. So what I've come to is, as part of the long-term staffing plan, as we do more events like these short day events, it's either that there's a very clear meal plan in the crock pot and we know who's going to be for dinner, but there's almost always an extra person or two around, and we should just accept that that's the way that is. And I need somebody to make sure that goes out and the dishes get done, because I will say this: after dinner on Saturday last weekend, I ghosted. I was out. I went to bed. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we fed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. I think about 6 or 7 people for dinner. And then they got to do the dishes. So, and I'm okay with that. And the cool thing with having it over at the base camp lodge is that we had dinner over there. They started doing the dishes and I was like, all right, good night, I'm out. And I went home, and it was not in my kitchen that I was hearing dishes being done.
Yeah.
So I will say there was some pretty, like, that was a good test of the whole situation. Also, the Glamper air conditioning broke. So thankfully we had another room at base camp that person could stay in. And she was super like gracious about not being weird about it. So she had air conditioning, and that was good. Really enjoyed getting to know her as well. So that was another thing, is that now we need to figure out what's wrong with the Glamper air conditioning, because I can't rent that without air conditioning working. So we put my office air conditioner in there, which needs to be taken back out by the time Monday comes around, which is in 2 days, and put back in my office so I can broadcast from my office. But that my office air conditioner would not keep up with the Glamper. And all of that was just good lessons about what happens. But I think the overriding lesson, and this is a question to y'all, the audience, is how do we get more people involved with helping make this happen? Because I can also say, from a profit standpoint, if we talk about Homestead income, that event broke even. And I'm guessing how much I owe Lynn right now for some of the food things and the platters and that sort of thing. So we didn't lose money, but we didn't make money. And when you don't make money, you don't have money for the, for an extra air conditioner or for those sorts of things. So that's also something very informative. And Tactical, are you gone or? Yeah. So the next thing I had was, Tactical always does this. He walks out of the room when it's his turn to talk. So that is the way it is. Carson says, all right, time to jump a fast food counter because this customer keeps changing the door code and doesn't tell us. What's that mean? I don't know what that means, Carson. Anyway, so that was the canning class. And I'm really glad we did the canning class on a small scale. I had only opened up 8 tickets because I wanted people to have that hands-on. We sold 6, so that was a good start. Sold out would have been the difference between breaking even and making a little bit of money, by the way, because I think the expenses the only thing that would have gone up was everybody went home with a ball canning book, and 2 more of those books would have gone out the door. But what that tells me is selling out the classes is part of the plan, or prices have to go up, and nobody wants prices to go up. So there we go. But I'm glad we did that whole exercise before the cheese class, because the cheese class will have more people and we have more hands to help with the cheese class. But had I done that at Base Camp Lodge without having done the canning class, then I wouldn't know what I don't know, right? So there were some things about that, I wish I had this thing here that came up, or just the logistics of running the event down there when we're used to running events at my house. And that means there was a lot of back and forth of transporting of stuff. And I started making a list of things. So our goal will be that we don't have to bring things back and forth. For example, I serve coffee in these big thermos things. And to wash one of those, you need a sink big enough to wash one of those. I don't have a sink big enough to wash one of those at Base Camp Lodge. So they have to come back to my house, get washed, dried, and then put away back over at Base Camp. And then next time we use them, they're clean and ready to go. But there's no sink over there to clean them in. So there's some other bigger picture things. So I'm keeping my eye out. I saw a 3-bay sink in Smithville for $50 that had we not also been setting up for the canning class and had I not already been sick, I would have probably dropped everything to try to go pick that up. But eventually we're going to be putting in a commercial sink over there in the basement, I believe. What do you think about that, Tactical?
Yeah.
So you have this talent for walking away right as I'm about to call on you.
Yeah. Also just had the fun experience of somebody pulled in the driveway.
Who was it?
And I hear talking.
Oh, it was Michelle.
Who I completely forgot was showing up today.
Yeah. My roasting assistant is here today. So that y'all's coffee orders can go out. There's one order she's not roasting that I am roasting on Monday. That's a particularly complicated order.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is, as we've been moving into opening up the holler more for tours and that sort of thing, we've realized that some of our unfinished projects need to be finished. Have you realized that too?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I mean, there's a certain level of I don't have enough time / energy / there's way too many projects. And there always will be.
Yeah, that's a homestead in a nutshell.
And like yesterday, skid steer showed up.
Why was the skid steer there? Because that was my next item. Like, tell us what's going on to get everything up and running.
Yeah, there was the old, I don't even know what it looked like originally, but there was a gravel spot, I'm assuming, for the old greenhouse.
Yeah.
Which was not ideal for putting the camper over there. So I basically had him seriously tweak all of that gravel and built kind of 3 terraces going down the hill. And as part of that, the whole fence line had to come out.
Yeah.
At least, well, 2 sides of the old garden fence had to come out. And I'm looking at, at this point, yesterday I got a little bit of shovel work done to adjust some stuff. And there's a lot more shovel work that needs to be done over there to kind of tweak some slopes and stuff. And then I was halfway looking at where the fence line should go back at, and it's like that old compost bin, which is 3/4 full and a lot of it not decomposed, is right in the middle of where that fence should go.
So to put you guys in the universe, because Tactical went straight to the details, we had a skid steer out from a community member, Randy, and he took a giant pile of rock or stone that I had a greenhouse on years ago, spread it out so we can park a camper up there. It already has power and water to the area. It is not set up for a camper yet. Like, there's more work to do there. And he flattened that out so we could see if we needed to order more gravel. Do we need more gravel?
No.
Okay. And then he reshaped what was my old garden space into what would you call those, terraces? so that you can like stay in a camper there and walk out and there's a bit of a yard, we're going to have a grounding garden area where you can go barefoot and some other things. That yard is shared by the glamper and the camping cabin, both of which are not finished. They're in process. So that happened yesterday. What was your thought on it? Was it nice to have heavy equipment in the hauler to get things done faster?
I would love to have heavy equipment in the hauler, and there's also an aspect of, one of our friends made a point that we might want a mini skid as opposed to an actual skid steer. And since I had that conversation with him, this is the first time we've had a piece of equipment like that out here. And it was like, yeah, after watching, because that skid steer is a fairly large skid steer.
Yeah.
Then it's like there was one spot I really wanted to get him into, and he just it wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
Just wasn't his bucket was wider than the area that I wanted him to grade off.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, having a piece of equipment like that to do stuff like that is very useful. But I actually leaning more towards we probably should just get a mini skid just because it's less destructive on the property and there's a little bit more finesse that can be done with a mini skid, which we actually need here.
Well, and my thought is we basically can we can hire Randy to do the big skid steer stuff, and he's not that far from me.
Yeah.
That the cool thing is he lives just a few miles away. He has the skills, so we don't have to do it. So this is my raised bed area. These are the green beans you see, like climbing the pole beans, climbing the shade structure there, and also providing some shade for the garden. So those two areas that are carved out are places where garden beds are going to go. And so that's what is that? That's where the next two beds are going, and then there's a third bed on the other side, right?
Well, in that picture, there's a bed bottom left. That's gonna be bed number 5. Bed number 6 will go attached to that one, and then bed 7 will be the one in that spot to the right.
Okay, so that's going to be 7 of the 8 original planned beds, and I know where the 8th one's going to go. The problem is we're going to have to renumber our beds when that happens, because you and I will understand why bed 8 is bed 1, but nobody else will.
Yeah.
So we ended up calling the beds by numbers, which has been really helpful in communication, because bed number 2 needs water right now. Bed number 2 needs water every single day when it's hot like this, because the soil in bed number 2 does not have enough biochar and clay in it at this time. So bed number 2 is getting a facelift this fall, and we'll see if we can adjust the soil in bed number 2 to make it less sensitive to drying out quickly. That hasn't really been an issue this year until I went out of town, because it's been raining every other day, or raining every day. So that's the deal. Are you walking off again?
There's a cat wailing.
Okay. Is somebody locked somewhere? He can't answer because it's across the room and he's not wearing a mic. I feel like I need to get him his own set of mics, because, that is a thing. So with that discussion, it goes into our next thing, which is when one person's off the homestead, the other person has to pull up the slack. And we ended up not having automated watering installed on any of the new raised beds, which when you do raised beds, I think you should do automated watering to the best of your ability, because they will dry out faster than if it's in the ground. And then if it's hot, like on the one hand, we've had so much rain that having things in a raised bed this year for me means I avoided what happened to other people where their gardens got kind of rotty and flooded, because I have raised beds that drain pretty well. On the other hand, I went out of town, and then it was in the 90s, and Tactical was there. Ken came and finished the coffee lean-to roof one day, and then the next day Randy came and he reshaped the RV spot and did some shaping in some other places on the homestead. And when that's happening, Tactical, are you busy doing your schedule uninterrupted?
About that.
Yeah, so he needed to be there overseeing it. He told me, like, next time it'd be better not to have Randy there when I'm not also there to pull up his slack, because my beds did not get watered.
Yeah, and it was less about the specific person and more about the specific, I had to be there to look at what was being done and make decisions. Whereas with what Ken was doing, there was already a design, and it was just a matter of Ken showing up and doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't. Well, I'm not gonna say I can't. It is really difficult when I have somebody, when I'm here by myself and somebody shows up where it's a constant, like, he does something and then I've got to look at it and be like, okay, let's do this next. Like,
yeah, I mean, when somebody's on site doing a major project, what I've learned is one of us needs to be there for questions and to make sure that we're communicating what we actually want as an outcome. The exception to that is when Ken is building something that's very clear. Because when Ken's not building something very clear, it's not that he needs guidance. Like, Taj Mahaler would be completely different had I not been there on day one and said, can we move those posts 6 inches this direction and put a hole in my roof?
Yeah.
And it's way better the way it is now versus then. It's just that he would have done what was, the smart thing to do and not put a hole in your roof. Right?
Yeah.
And but because I was there, I was like, yeah, I know it'll take more time and it's going to put the material costs up and whatever, but I know that then for the next 10 years I'm not going to be cursing these posts in my way, right? So Carson says, was it tracked on wheels skid steer? It was a tracked skid steer. We do tracked here. Yeah. What I've found, because I have rented skid steers over the years, and sometimes they don't have the tracked one available. And so I tend to rent the tracked one. What's distracting you now?
I'm on the computer that's used for the labels.
Oh, I see. So how are you going to deal with that?
I don't know. I'm going to mute and figure it out.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about stuff, and Michelle literally can go straight to that computer and print the roasting sheet, and it will print over the air from there, and then she'll have her roasting plan, and then she might have to do labels in 15 minutes when we're done with this show. But she's probably super stoked that she's like, but I don't want people to see me right now. We can just see the top of her head. So Michelle wrote a really cool book called Miracle on Montgomery Farm that I believe, I don't know if you can order it right now, but it's a kid's book about a farm that transitions from conventional to more organic methods. And it kind of teaches that that's possible. And the cool thing is she's about to re-release it with illustrations. So it hasn't been with illustrations before. I will be talking about that more on the podcast, as like she's at the point, I think, where the drawings are being drawn. So there's a lot of roadway. She's given a thumbs up. There's a lot of roadway between this is happening and it actually happening. As she gets closer to release, we'll probably do some feature stuff on that. It's really cool to be able to talk about our way of life with the regenerative agriculture approach and homesteading approach to living, and integrate it in ways our kids can learn about it as part of their, learning and entertainment, which is kind of a cool thing. So that's Miracle on Montgomery Farm. And I don't know when it's coming out, but I'll keep you guys posted. So the next thing that happened on canning weekend is Sunday. We had a Holler neighbor dinner. By Sunday, I was pretty shot because I had that cold come back on Saturday night. And so I spent most of the day not doing a lot of things. On Sunday, I made the mistake of going to church. And then when I was in church, I realized I needed to be in bed. I had a meeting with somebody that we delayed till Monday. And then I just like chilled until Holler Neighbor Dinner. We had the Ever Souls out, which was really awesome to catch up with them because they've been like trucking on building their own homestead and getting things set up there. So we got to catch up with them. I think we're going to probably schedule a game night soon. And then I told them like maybe they need to host a Holler dinner at their place because I haven't been out there since the fall. And it'd be nice to kind of see all of the progress that they've made over at their new homestead. But the Holler neighbor dinner was great. And we ended up just doing like some chicken legs and then mostly the same thing. So this goes back to the whole food thing when we have an event. We had a lot of leftovers from the lunch. So the charcuterie just kind of kept coming out every time we ate anything. And then we'd add a little something to it. So next up, we'll do the financial update on the homestead. And this is something that's sort of I'm doing a lot of presentations on this topic, which is designing your homestead with profit in mind. So a lot of us get into homesteading and we're like, well, I'll plant a garden and it will make it so I don't have to buy as much at the store. But we don't think about how does that pay for itself? Like, are we spending more money on the garden than we are at the store? And what does that mean for our life, right? So I like to talk about designing your homestead with profit in mind. That's why I give you the financial updates when we do something like the canning class. Like we broke even. That's not profit. What happens when you get the profit from something like that is you have resources coming from your homestead. Like your homestead starts working for you instead of you just working for your homestead. And when you're doing a homestead and you're working, you end up with a full-time job on the homestead. So to the extent where we can set up our homestead revenue stacks to bring more in, and that's how we eventually get to the point where we're not like one person's working full-time earning money to pay for the homestead, right? Okay, that's the context for this. Some of the ways, if you start looking at your homestead like a resource, right, from which it can generate revenue, you'll notice that if you let people rent things on your homestead, like camping sites, that can bring in a little money and that can be helpful. So Base Camp has transitioned to the Base Camp Lodge, right? So it's been a 2-bedroom house that we rent and that brings in revenue, right? That pays for it. So we decided after Lynn moved out that we would answer what we've been feeling called to do, which is more education, more connecting people. That's why it's Curds and Connection for the cheese class. And that means that it's really nice to be able to do classes there instead of in my house. And that means we don't have all my animals around. You know, I do have fewer animals than I had. But Base Camp has a bedroom with a bed in it that we can put guest instructors in when they're in town. And I decided to put it on Airbnb. So that bedroom is like advertised as a bedroom in a shared house. People are not in the house with you, but when we have campers on that property, they have access to the kitchen during certain hours. And we make coffee and serve coffee for people in the morning, that sort of thing. So I have it up on Airbnb. Yesterday, I was talking to Tactical. I'm like, do you want me to launch the Airbnb and see if we get any renters? And he was like, no, because I'm not there to clean it. No, he said, I'd have to clean it. Inside, the little voice said no, right?
No, I just simply pointed out the fact that if we're going to do that while one person is not here, the person that's here by themselves is going to have to be able to deal with the people and cleaning that.
Yep. Unless we find a way for outsourcing cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I decided to pull the trigger on it anyway. And here's why. the chances of us getting an Airbnb renter this weekend while I'm not here, not super high, although it could happen. Not impossible, but not super high. Yeah, Margot says, have a great day. She's actually stayed in the Airbnb before. Same bed, Margot. It's a nice king-sized bed. And so I figured just getting it out there so people can see it and think about it helps you in the long run get through. So I just pulled the trigger on it. And then we're replacing the roof over there this month. And that means construction probably starts at about 7 a.m. every morning while that's happening. Right?
Something like that.
Yeah, and it's going to be messy. And so I cut the rate to half rate during the construction time and said in the description, this is what's happening with the roof. So if you want a really cheap room on your way through the Lancaster, Tennessee area, this is your month to do that. But also, it's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. So tactical, what needs to be harvested?
I don't know, but while Michelle was doing that, I stepped outside, and while I was walking by the tomato wall, I just grabbed whatever I saw. So there's a lot of little guys, and there was one big guy that probably needs to come off that I didn't grab.
The big one, like big, like half my head size?
No, it's about, well, I mean, this one's about baseball size.
Okay. Yeah. Is it heart-shaped or roundish?
It might be heart.
Okay. Yeah, that's a Timmy.
I can go grab it.
Okay. Yeah, go get it while we talk. He's laughing because he's basically spent the whole show not on the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So tomatoes are, you know what you need to look at today?
The
cucumbers.
I haven't even thought about what I need to look at aside from making a pass through the raised beds, which I don't even remember what all is over there.
Yeah, the cucumbers in the raised beds need you to take a good hard look at them and harvest lots of cucumbers and put them in the outside fridge. And even the ones that are so big they're brown, put those in the fridge because that variety of cucumber gets a brown outer skin, which is not visually attractive, but they don't get bitter. So we can still eat those, or I can still make those into cucumber relish.
Yeah.
And we all like cucumber relish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did my cucumber relish last time too, so wrong. So anyway, I would definitely, when you water the beds, or if God waters the beds in 10 minutes, like you kind of look like you think it might rain, I'd definitely go check those cucumbers. Everything else out there, you can harvest, but I'm going to be home on Sunday and I can harvest. The other thing that will really need it are the green beans. The peppers can wait. The eggplants are probably fine, and then the Swiss chard is feeling a little bit warm. So
yeah.
Jen wants to know if we're going to install other grow beds or hydroponics over at base camp. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a plan there. It's going to be, for me, we're starting with the roof.
Yeah, there's multiple plans, and there's some stuff that I'm looking at like, this would be an interesting idea to put a 1-foot strip down each side of the carport.
Yeah. But the carport needs to be redone first.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of all of base camp is a developing thing. Like the base camp lodge needs windows replaced. And when we replace the windows, we may want to adjust how the windows are up high so that they're not as big, letting as much heat, sun heat in the summer. We'll talk about that. And also we may put a loft in one of the rooms.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is happening outside. We do already have a grow bed that hopefully you've been watering, but you forgot it existed until I just said it now. So you'll probably want to water that today too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw the look on your face. That's okay. So this is an example of all the things I do that he has no idea I do when I'm out of town. This is why I don't usually leave for more than 5 days at a time. Anyway, so that will develop over there. The plan over there is actually to get some integrated systems that we can use as models and tour people on, just so they can kind of see how you set up a small property to produce some food. But we also want it to be visually appealing for those who stay there in the cabins and that sort of thing, because there's also plans for some small camping cabins over there. Anyway, goldenrod season is upon us. Mullein seed heads are coming on, and we have to decide if we're harvesting the flowers or the seeds.
Oh, no, there's no deciding that. You're harvesting the seeds.
Oh, okay, so the flowers are done. I would like you to picture the seed fairy as a 6'4" skinny redneck with fluffy hair and a fluffy beard, running around with a magic seed wand, hitting the wand places so that the mullein seeds fall in places where we think mullein should grow. The challenge with mullein that we've had is we run sheep through my property and they eat the mullein. And so we actually don't have much mullein there right now. And as the soil improves, mullein does not grow. So we're going to probably have to find some places where the sheep are not running through that's poorer soil and put them there as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I know at least one, probably two spots where the soil is absolutely horrible. Nothing else is going to grow there except for your invasive vines. The sheep don't go there. And so one of those spots for sure, I'm definitely planning on throwing one of those seed heads.
Yep. So rather than throwing the seed head, do that with the wand.
Well, yeah.
Yep. Anyway, that's all I've got from the homestead. I don't see any questions in the comments. Do you have anything to add, Tactical, or are you about done?
I don't know. My brain is already all over the road.
So, yeah, no kidding. You were running off of this homestead doing things the whole time, culminating in the interruption of Michelle because you realized, oh, I'm on the label printing computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. Packrat says, wire off a section of gravel, wash, and mullein will like it. Yeah, absolutely. Or rock wall. It likes rock wall. I would say the whole back of my house, rock wall, you could just mullein it.
That actually wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah. Carson's like, hey, I had a question about AC problems. Yeah, well, Carson, if you can come fix my AC on my camper, you are welcome to do that, because not having AC in a camper in the summer is not fun. Yeah. Anyway, if you like the show and want to support the work we're doing here, you can do it in two ways. One, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. Two, consider becoming a member. Find out more where? livingfreeintennessee.com. With that, guys, go out and make it a great week.